Hey guys, this is Marcus Trusty from Core. Bringing you a little bit of an update from what's going on out in Utah. The internet and off-road groups was kind of set on fire a couple days ago when some announcements were pushed out about the travel management plan that is getting ready to take place north and west of Moab, in the Labyrinth Canyon area and Gemini bridges. That it's not really new, and what happened is in 2008, the Southern Utah Wilderness Association, also known as SUA, sued the BLM and said that they didn't go through the correct process for their 2008 travel management plan. That lawsuit was settled in 2017, and as part of the settlement agreement, the BLM agreed to look at 12 different areas of travel management that they would essentially redo. The one outside of Moab that I mentioned is actually travel management area 3, the third one. The first one was the San Rafael Desert, also the San Rafael Swell. You may have seen some information about that. We made some comments about that as well. So this is actually only the third one. There is 9 more of these that are set to go. And this one's garnering the most attention because it's outside of Moab. And there's only 2 types of motorized users, right? There's those of us that have been to Moab and those of us that want to go to Moab. And that's why this one is really blown up. And it's really good that people are paying attention and they have so much enthusiasm about what's going on in and around the Moab area. But in this video, we're just going to talk about some of the specifics, what to do. Comments are due here really soon, and this is the scoping part of the process. But back up a little bit. This is a standard playbook in the anti-motorized groups agenda. They're constantly suing land managers in the hopes of gaining a settlement agreement, so they'll have to redo travel management. And they sue them saying they're not abiding by their own process, or they're, in the case of the Pike San Isabel National Forest here that we've brought you tons of updates on, that they weren't following their own forest plan. So they try and find some technicality that they can sue a land management agency over. They try and win a settlement agreement, and then the settlement agreement requires travel management. And during that travel management is when they try and get miles of trails and roads closed. So I've seen where people are saying, well, they're trying to close all the trails in Moab. And I'm always like, what are all the trails and who are they? Well, the they is SUA. They're the ones that sued the BLM in Utah. And we don't know what trails could be closed yet because the process is just starting. It's the same thing that happened here in the Pike San Isabel National Forest, where they were sued. They, agreed to travel management as part of the settlement agreement. And we have a pretty good idea now of how this is going to look. The final decision isn't signed yet, but we're probably going to lose 150 miles total of roads that'll be closed as a result of this. So, it's not, in some cases, full roads. They're, bits and pieces here and there, but they all add up. 150 miles of roads, that's a lot of roads. And so they kind of use this technique is death by 1,000 cuts. They chip away here and there. They remove a road here. They remove 1/10 of a mile there, 1/2 a mile here, and then it all adds up. And, after 2 or 3 of these things and, 10, 20, 30 years, there's a lot of roads that get closed as a result. So we have to remain vigilant as we go through this. We also have to be involved in this because we have to point out the information on the ground. In many cases, land managers and their maps and their data is not accurate. They don't have all the routes fully mapped. They may be missing a route. They may be missing the end point of a route. And so when they do this, the anti-motorized groups will always point this out. They'll say, well, the map doesn't show the road go there, so it should be closed way down here. When in reality, that's not true. The BLM data or the Forest Service data is just not accurate. And this is our chance to point that out, to put in the accurate information, to dispel myths, to dispel, mapping errors, to highlight that. We showed you so many mapping errors that happened in the Pike San Isabel National Forest plan in travel management, and there's a lot of them in Utah too. So that's why we need you guys. That's why this is going to be an important process. This one in Moab, and then all of the other 9 that are going to come along, they're all important. So I've also seen when Facebook was lit up by sharing of posts about this travel management going on, I saw people sharing it and then saying, well, I hope they can stop this. And again, who's they? You guys need to know who's working on this for you. So the TPA, Trails Preservation Alliance, Ride with Respect, and CoveCo, all intervened during this lawsuit, and have all been, working on this since 2008, and in some cases have spent a lot of money doing this. But it's not us and them. They're part of us. They're all users. They're just like, you and me. But before I started CORE, I was just a user, and I was upset because roads were getting closed. So I decided to do something. They're not different than us. They ride motorcycles, ATVs, they Jeep, they do everything that we do. So it really needs to be us, and it needs to be you. You need to be informed, you need to understand what's going on, and you need to help us. So the scoping period, the comments are due on Monday, the 26th. The scoping period just means that they're gathering information and they're gathering feedback from the users in the communities that use this area. So there's no plan yet as to what alternatives could be proposed or what trails could be closed. It's just scoping. We need to be a part of scoping. Then once they take the information from scoping, then they'll develop, draft alternatives. Most of the time it's A, B, C, sometimes D and others. And then we can look at those and see what would happen in each of those proposals. And then there'll be another comment period where you can comment on those. Then there'll be a draft decision. Then there'll be a chance where you can object to the draft decision if you've commented and been part of this process. So, that gives you a little bit of the background. This is a huge area. I think it's 330,000 acres of area. It includes several, highly known trails, whitewash sand dunes area. I've been there multiple times. My family, my kids, they really like the whitewash sand dunes area. And then there's a lot of other areas that extend south down, towards Moab that is west of Highway 191 for trails that could be affected that are in this area that we're talking about. So we're talking about, Gemini Bridges, Rusty Nail, Golden Spike, Gold Bar Rim, Golden Crack, Poison Spider, Monitor Merrimack Buttes, 7 Mile Rim area, Bull Canyon, 10 Mile Canyon, Bartlett and Tusher Washes, Determination Towers, the Pickle, Mashed Potatoes, Secret Spire, the Dubinky Well Road, 3D, Dead Cow, the Tubes, and all of the ATV and single tracks that can happen in and around this area, because sometimes there's shorter sections that are connectors and things. These are just the really well-known, nationally known trails from this area that could be affected. So now you know the area. Now you know the background, what's going on. Now you know the groups that are helping. You need to follow Ride with Respect. You need to follow the TPA. You could even follow Blue Ribbon. You could follow our information in CORE, because we're going to be providing comments on this area. And then watch our other videos on YouTube, on our YouTube channel here where you're watching this one. We have a video out about how to comment, how to make substantial comments and not to make unsubstantial comments, because land managers only, really respond and look at substantial comments. And they're very simple. Just tell them who you are. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm from this state. I visit the Moab area X amount of times a year or once a year. I love these trails. I ran this trail the last time I was there. Tell them if you're part of a group. Tell them if you do stewardship and volunteer work. Tell them if you pick up trash while you're out there. Just tell them about who you are and why you like these areas. Leave the really complex legal arguments to the organizations that are involved here. They obviously are well-versed in the law and understand how to argue those points. So what we're asking you guys to do is just tell them who you are, what trails you go on, why you love the area. If you're really familiar with the area, take a look at all of the maps and make sure that there's no mapping errors and that everything's correct. And then submit. we'll have the link here in the comments or in the description of this video, to the section on BLM where you can make comments, and do a couple sentences, couple paragraphs, and hit submit. That would really help us out. But not only commenting, just understanding and knowing the process. So pay attention, look for information. If we send out, request a comment, or you follow any of these other organizations that I've mentioned that are really working on this area, follow their info and comment. If they have a request out there, do your part and help us keep trails open.